Hi, my name is Frances Meek. I'm the director at a place called Fallen Timbers Environmental Center. Fallen Timbers is a 456-acre facility located 18 miles west of Green Bay, about 18 miles north of the city of Appleton in Wisconsin. We are a facility owned by 6 school districts in what's called a consortium of schools for environmental education. Our school districts are Ashwaubenon, De Pere, West De Pere, Little Chute, Wrightstown, and Seymour school districts. We serve those school districts exclusively throughout the entire school year. We work with students 4K through 12th grade in a variety of subjects. And one of our favorite subjects is the subject of snowshoeing. We have snowshoes to outfit 4K students all the way through adults. And I'd like to share some of those snowshoes with you today. Snowshoeing is a fabulous, fabulous sport. It is great for physical education, as well as working on coordination, and just a way to get out into the natural world during the winter time. As you know, snow is very hard to walk in, but when you put snowshoes on your feet, they keep you up and out of the snow. Because what a snowshoe will do is actually spread your body weight out over the surface of the snowshoe. So snowshoes are a very, very valuable tool to have on your feet in the wintertime. Now at Fallen Timbers, we have all different kinds of snowshoes, not just to fit different sizes of people, but also to give us the ability to walk in different types of terrain and different kinds of snow. But no matter what kind of snowshoe you get, there are some basic parts that are helpful to know. At the front of the snowshoe, you have what's called the nose. At the back of the snowshoe, you have what's called the tail, and in the very middle is the binding. This part is very important. It's what holds your foot to the snowshoe. Now here at Fallen Timbers, we have a very unique design to our bindings. These snowshoe bindings are made out of recycled tractor inner tube. We get the inner tube here at Fallen Timbers. We have small, medium, large, and extra large patterns. We cut those out and attach them to the snowshoes ourselves. Now on traditional snowshoes, you also have something called the webbing, which is the bottom part of the snowshoe. This is key in holding you up out of that deep snow. This material is actually called rawhide. It's a traditional material for our snowshoes. However, even in this traditional wooden frame snowshoe, you will find webbing material made out of neoprene or nylon or something along those lines. The snowshoe I'm holding right now is called a Michigan snowshoe. It's a very wide snowshoe, relatively flat, not a lot of bend until you get right up here to the nose. This snowshoe is great for deep, packed snow, wide open areas, and if you're going to be carrying a backpack or something like that, the wider stance of the snowshoe is really going to serve you well and help you stay up out of the snow. Another type of snowshoe we have here at Fallen Timbers, one of my favorites. This one is called an Alaskan snowshoe. This one has, of course, the nose, the tail, and the binding, just as all the others do. But you'll notice that this snowshoe is very, very long and not as wide as some of the others. This snowshoe has a very pronounced curve to the nose because the purpose of an Alaskan snowshoe is to help you get up and over deep snow drifts in wide open spaces. This long tail is going to help you with what we call tracking. When you go through the snow and you want to walk in a straight line, the long tail helps you to do that. As we move around the room, we have a few more types of snowshoes to share with you today. This snowshoe that I'm holding is called a bear paw snowshoe. My students often refer to it as the egg because of its shape, but it has a round nose and a round tail, and of course the binding in the middle. The snowshoe is designed really, believe it or not, for hills. A person can walk up to the top of a hill in a bear paw snowshoe and then use this round tail to actually sit on it and slide down like a sled. You'll notice that this snowshoe is very flat, and so there's no bend or curve to it. It's not a great snowshoe if you're going to go up and over snow drifts or things like that, but actually designed for hills. But because of its wide stance, it's kind of a hard snowshoe to walk in at times. So what they've done is actually modified the bear paw snowshoe. This one is called a Green Mountain bear paw snowshoe. Again, one of my favorites. This one has the round nose, the round tail, but you'll notice that they pushed it in and kind of pulled it out. They changed the shape a bit to make it easier to walk in this type of snowshoe. It does also have a curve to the nose. So this is going to help you get up a little bit over snow drifts and maneuver much, much easier than the traditional bear paw snowshoe would. Here's another popular snowshoe design. This snowshoe is called the Ojibwa snowshoe, designed by the Ojibwa Native Americans. And this snowshoe has a pointed nose, a pointed tail, and really a great snowshoe if you're going to be in the woods, walking around brushy areas, around our trees, and the pointed nose really helps you maneuver well through those areas. All right, the final kind of snowshoe that we have here at Fallen Timbers that I'd like to talk about is probably the most popular variety of snowshoe that we have. This is called the Vermont snowshoe. We actually have two different sizes. The one I'm holding is sized for our younger students. Our kindergarten students do very well in this size snowshoe. A Vermont snowshoe has a round nose, pointed tail, and of course the binding. But it's kind of a mid-sized snowshoe. It's not as wide as the Michigan snowshoe was. It's not quite as bulky to walk in as an Alaskan snowshoe, so it's kind of a good all-around. It still has a curve to the nose, gets you up over snowdrifts pretty well, and as I said, one of the most popular. So this is the kindergarten version, the smaller students. And then we have something a little bit larger. This is more for our middle school, high school, and adults. It's a Vermont snowshoe, just as the small one. It has the round nose, pointed tail, slight curve to the nose, and a really perfect all-around snowshoe. Okay, now we're going to demonstrate how we put our snowshoes on our feet. First of all, it's best to wear the proper type of footwear. You want to have your winter boots on. You want something a little more streamlined like this. The chunkier your boot, sometimes the harder it is to put your bindings on. But our bindings, like I said before, are pretty easy. What you do is you find the pocket of the binding, and then you take the toe of your boot and you wiggle your toes right up into that pocket. You want to wiggle them as far as you can get so that your toe is sitting nice and snug. Then what you're going to do is pull the heel part up and over the heel of the boot so that your boot is resting in the binding just like this. When you walk in your snowshoes, you want to lift the nose and drag the tail of the snowshoe, and as you're walking, your toe does pivot or go down through the center opening in your snowshoe. Now to take these off, you simply do the reverse. You're going to pull the heel out, and then you're going to wiggle your toes out, and your bindings are off. All right, now we're going to move on to cross-country skiing, another very popular activity here at Fallen Timbers during the winter time. At Fallen Timbers, we can outfit students all the way from kindergarten through adult in our equipment. And I want to take a minute and show you the different types of equipment we have at Fallen Timbers, show you the binding styles and how we actually put those on, and some basic technique for cross-country skiing. First of all, cross-country skis are long, narrow boards, and the idea is that we're going to strap them on our feet and hopefully glide over the surface of the snow. There is a rhythm to cross-country skiing, and it is a full-body workout. You burn a lot of calories when you cross-country ski, and it's enjoyable. It's a great way to get out into the woods, see some scenery while you're getting some exercise at the same time. A cross-country ski is, like our snowshoes, going to have three different main parts. The top of the snowshoe has a tip. It's always curved, so again, you can kind of get up little bumps and things like this. You also have a flat tail, and in the middle of your ski, you have a binding. When you look at the back of our cross-country skis, we have what are called waxless skis. That means that they have something called fish scales on this part, which is called the camber. The fish scales serve a purpose. They're kind of like, as I always say, the snow tire for your ski. This is where your traction is going to be. But beyond the fish scales, which end here, it is smooth on the tail, and then where the fish scales end here, it is smooth to the tip. This is your glide part of the ski. This is where you're actually going to be able to glide over the surface of the snow with ease. At Fallen Timbers, we have three different types of binding styles. Our older binding style is still a very popular style. It's called the 75mm binding. Then we also have something called the Solomon binding, and our third binding style is the newest type of binding that they have out, which is the step-in type of binding. Okay, this is our 75mm binding. And with the binding, we have what we like to call the duck toe boot. It has a square rubber toe at the end of the boot, and when you turn it over and look at the underside, there are 3 holes. These 3 holes in the rubber toe match up with 3 pegs that are in this binding. Now, the 75mm binding is the only one in Fallen Timber's collection that has a right and a left ski. The ski that I have here is meant for the right foot because you can see that it has an arrow pointing in that direction. If you don't have a picture of an arrow or an arrow cut out like this, you will have the word left or right, or you will also sometimes see a picture of a foot. So that is how you're going to find your left and right. To put on the 75mm binding, what you will do is take the toe of your boot and you will slide it in underneath this metal bar as far as you can get it. That usually will line up the 3 pegs with the 3 holes. Then you will stand up on your tiptoe, and usually you use a ski pole which fits right into the hole that you see in the top bar. But you push this down until it clicks. And then your foot is then in the binding. Notice it holds your toe. It does not hold the heel. So in cross-country skiing, you want your heel to be free. You lift your heel so that you can push the ski forward. To take this binding style off, you simply press the button in the front. That releases the bar, and then you're able to take your foot out. Okay, the next type of ski binding that I'd like to demonstrate for you is what we call the Solomon binding. On the ski, you'll notice the binding looks like this. It has a metal post in the very middle, and it has usually a gray colored lever in the front. Your cross-country ski boot that goes with this binding has a metal loop at the toe. To put this on, it's rather simple. You slide the metal loop over the metal bar that is in the binding. You're going to lift this gray lever and you're going to pull it forward until it clicks. To take this one off, you simply do the reverse. You push the gray lever forward and you're able to lift your foot out. Okay, the third type of binding that we have at Fallen Timbers is actually what we consider the newest style. If you were to go to a sporting goods store, most likely you would find this step-in type of binding. This binding is more sleek than the others. It has what we call the runway or the ramp on it. It has a bumper, and then it does have a button in the front. This opens and closes a jaw that actually hangs on to a bar that is on the bottom of your boot. The bar on the boot looks like this. It is located underneath your toe. Now, when you go to put this boot in the binding, first thing you need to do is make sure that there is no snow or ice packed in around this bar. If there is, it's not going to easily attach. So make sure you clear that out first, and then you simply slide your foot forward until the toe meets up with the bumper. Then you want to line up the bar at the bottom of the boot with the groove that's in front of this arrow. Once you have that lined up, you stand up on your tiptoe, push down until it gives you that nice click sound. Then you are attached. To take this off, you simply press the button in the front, that opens the jaw, and you're able to take your boot out. All right, some more things that you need to know before you can go cross-country skiing. You need to be able to size your equipment appropriately. How do you know if the ski is the right size for you? Well, what we do is we look at the tip of the ski. You want to hold your hand straight up in the air, and where the tip of the ski should reach is somewhere between your wrist and your fingertips. Somewhere right in between there is a pretty good size for you. Next, you're also going to want to look at something called the cross-country ski poles. Now, if you're a beginner to cross-country skiing, you actually don't need to carry these with you. The ski poles do not help you balance. They actually give you a little added kick as you go down the trail. But as you feel more comfortable on your skis and you have your balance down, these are very, very helpful. So a cross-country ski pole, first of all, has a very sharp tip at the bottom of it. This is to grip into the snow, give you a little traction. Then you have something called the basket. The basket really works like a snowshoe for the ski pole. Keeps your ski pole from sinking too deep down into the snow. Then on the other end, you have usually some type of handle or grip, and then you should also have a strap. The straps, believe it or not, are really important. When you put on a ski pole, you want the strap facing you, and with your gloves or mittens on, your hand goes up through the strap, and then you want to grip like this. That way, as you're skiing along, your hand won't slide down the pole, and should you take a tumble, you still have your ski pole in hand. The last thing you need to know about your ski poles is, how do you know which is the right size? Well, ideally you want the handle of the ski pole somewhere around the height of your shoulder, and then you know it's a pretty good size for you. Now that you know your gear, you want to get outside and do a little practicing.